Threw this yesterday, got it dried. Still got good moisture in the bottom, so it's perfect for trimming. So we'll set it on the bat. Obviously, it's not centered yet. Now when I do this, so if everybody can try and see this, you can see it's not centered. So you can do two things. You can use your fingers like this and just kind of put a little bit of pressure on it from all sides and work it till it goes to the middle. Or you can do this and use your needle tool. And so as it comes around, you just stick your needle tool down here like this till it touches. So that's going to leave a mark on it. So you look where that mark starts and ends. You can find it, there we go, there's the beginning and there's the end, and it's a really short mark, so I know it has to move quite a bit. So I find the center point from that, I just move it away from that. It has to move quite a bit because of how far off it was. Then try again. Okay, from here to here, so that looks like I just went too far to get that other one. There we go. Boom, we're on. So, in your toolkits, you'll have two trimming tools that look like these, and they're great. They work fine and wonderful for about the first 10 pieces, and then they need sharpened. So, I use a different kind that's easier to sharpen, but they do the same job. So you're gonna have, if you're using the foam bat, you gotta have a little bit of down pressure on it so it doesn't slide off or go anywhere. This time when it came off the bat, it picked up a little bit of the clay from the bat. So before I even start to trim, I'm just gonna shave that down and get that stuff off of there. There we go. All right, so when you're trimming, I advise for beginners, look at your plate and look, say, you know, I want my foot to be like right here on the outside to right here on the inside. That's where I want. You're gonna do the inside, the middle first. So what you do is you just start like working on wood on a lathe. You're just gonna start removing clay. You wanna start in the center because that's where it's going to be the most likely to take pressure and crack. So, well, actually, where it's going to want to crack the most is right along that edge where the whole body comes together. So where the walls come up, that's going to be the weakest spot. So if you do the center first, then you haven't taken any clay out around that area. So it's a lot stronger there. So the question is, how do you know how much to take out, right? Is anybody thinking that?
Sure.
Good. So you can take your plate, you can take and you can feel. You can see, okay, I've got about that much. So it's about the right thickness for the floor. And then you just got to recenter, and then you can go on. When you first start doing this, you make a lot of plates, you're going to screw up and you're going to trim right through the floor. Don't cry about it, it happens. Even I still do it to this day. That's just part of trimming. And as promised, this catches a lot of the clay, but it doesn't catch everything, of course. So when you're all done, you're going to have to sweep. So you need enough depth in here, right here, so that when you put glaze there, that glaze isn't going to touch the kiln shelf. So one of the tests you can do for that is to find like a wood knife or just really anything long and flat. You can put it across there and you can see how much clearance you have underneath there. So I've got the inside trimmed. Now we're going to trim the outside. So when you do the outside, you're going to want to kind of round that edge. You don't want it to look like it flows right down into that foot. You're gonna use a pretty good speed. If you've got lots of speed, then you don't have to use a lot of pressure. This piece, because it dried so fast, dried a little on the uneven side. So it trims slightly uneven too. You see how I matched the shape there, right up to the foot? You want to take your foot down about as thin as you can get it, as narrow as you can get it, I mean. You don't want a big clunky foot. I mean, you all have seen good china has just a really fine foot to it, right? You're going to do the same thing. You're making something just as good. So once you've got to your foot pretty much where you want it, you can refine that just a little bit. Now, what I always do is I take my tool and I roll and round the edge of that foot like this. So if you round that off, then when you wipe it off, it's just going to be so much smoother and cleaner. So don't leave it with sharp edges, just round that off. It'll look a lot better. That's pretty much it. That plate's trimmed, ready to go. Except I always do one last thing. And that is why I have water here. Take my sponge, get it as dry as I can get it, and then I'll just slightly sponge that off. And what that does, when you're trimming, it leaves little divots and holes in it where the grog was and stuff, where it knocks out chunks. And so by doing this, it kind of creates a slip coating that coats those in and fills those spots in. It makes it much cleaner. There you go. Looks like I threw it that way, right?
Very pretty.
That's the way you want your foot to be. So usually you'll take it, set it back like normal on the shelf or wherever it's dry, and that's that. All right. So the first thing I do is up here where I put that texture in it, I'll just take my tool, knock off the high sharp spots of that texture. You don't want to leave all that sharp stuff sticking up, because that'll stick right through the glaze and cut your spots. You don't want cut your spots. So that makes the top all nice and pretty. I let this one dry off the bat, so I've got a nice flat bottom. This is what I do a lot of times. This is how I make my pie plates. Doesn't take much trimming, and I can even do this part when it's completely dry. But I'll round that edge off and make that foot look really good. Right around that edge there. And just to make it look nicer for people, I'll just start right here in the middle. Give it one of these. And that little motion right there adds so much to it. It's just ridiculous. It's so simple, and it just adds so much to the piece, makes it just look that much more finished on the bottom.
Okay. Did you make these tools?
No, I bought those. I bought those. They're about $15 a piece.
Where at?
You can buy them online. This one, Dolan and Kemper make the majority of clay tools. So if you want to do a flat bottom, that's a great way to do it. It's very clean. First, I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to switch to the Giff and Grip. So the Giff and Grip is a wonderful tool for trimming. So it does the centering for you. And yeah, use it this way. So you've got 3 feet here. Your wheel has 2 bat pins, if it has bat pins in. So set the bat pins at 3 and 9 straight across. Then you hold this toward this foot straight in front of you, so you got two back there. That way, you make sure none of those feet go directly on top of the bat pins, and it makes it all wonky and goofy. All right. So that will just sit in there, and then if we hold the bottom so it can't turn, as I rotate this, it moves those little doomahickers in, and they work like a jig and hold it right in place. Get it snug, but not too tight. But, oops, I went too fast. Giff and grip is not made for lefties, so that's the challenge. So then when I turn the wheel on, it goes left-handed. Rather than tightening, it actually loosens it. So I have to turn it on really slow. To see it pre-centers everything. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is pretty much like that last one. I'm just gonna, sorry John, throw it at you there. I left it a little thicker. I wasn't sure which way I was gonna go with this one. So this is using my trim tools. If you're using these, your pear tool, pear-shaped one, you've actually got 3 different edges for trimming. So this edge right here is for removing large amounts of clay at once. That'll really take it off in a hurry. This one, if you're trying to do something a little more precise, use the opposite side. And then if you want to get rid of ridges and stuff like that, then use this side to smooth that edge. This one does basically the same thing. This end is like that small end on the pear-shaped tool. And then this end is really good for cutting in and doing the feet. So you've got a nice flat edge, so you can cut right straight down one side of the foot and right straight down the other side. Anytime you're using your trim tools, if you're holding them up like this, they won't do anything. They have to be fairly flat for that edge to actually cut because of the way that edge is shaped. All right, so it's a little drier than I wanted it to be for this, but we'll be all right. I'll make it work.
Is it possible to use a sponge on it?
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back because I'll my chalkboard. That's what we call a reducitive or reductive method, because we're reducing and taking away from it. So if you throw with a little less clay, throw a little bit thinner, you can actually add your foot, which is exactly what we're going to do here. All right. So you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need your scoring tool. So this is that Zion one I was talking about. We were talking about in hand building. Go and you just score the area where you're going to put your foot. And that is really dry, so I'm going to work that up a bit more. Yeah, I heard that. Try to loosen up on me, aren't you? All right, that's better. So when I score, I usually score 2 directions. So if I'm going around that way, I've got it one way, and I can just come back and score it this direction as well. Easy peasy. Just fine because it's too dry anyway, so a little extra water, make it less dry. Way more than I need, but hey, it'll work.
That's pretty slick.
So that way you can get perfectly even coils. I'm spoiled because my home wheel doesn't have any resistance to it, so when it's stopped, it actually becomes like a banding wheel. Of course, these things are belt driven, so you've got the motor and the belt you gotta push to rotate like that. All right, so you lay your coil in like so. Easy peasy, right? Take your sponge, don't get it soaking wet, but get a little bit of water on there. And you'll just wet it right there where that foot is. So the first thing you gotta do is center it. So you're gonna do a bridge, like you do on the rim of a pot. And you center it up like that. Then you can use some down pressure on it and push that foot down into those score marks so that it adheres really well to the pot. Just a little more water. Smooth it up really good. Boom, just like that, you've added a foot rather than taking one away. So, anybody know what a berry bowl is? Anybody familiar with those?
With the holes that you bury.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
got the
a berry
holes
bowl.
like it's like a little colander. So when you see berry bowls, they usually have a tall foot on them, right? So it's kind of a pedestal bowl. So to do this kind of a foot, you can do just a larger coil. Once you get a center on there, you can actually pull a little bit of a wall up and make nice little berry balls. That's the kind of the third way of adding a foot. So this way we add a foot, the other way we take away from a foot. So I showed you the Giff and grip, I showed you the foam bat, I showed you trimming. I mean, that's the whole ball right there.
Did you make
Just
the
take-
foam bat?
No, we
Or
buy
they-
those. That one looks like it might have been made, but you can buy them. They're like $10, $15, something like
Where
that.
at?
Pretty much everywhere that sells ceramic supplies. Very,
Is it
very.
made by
So,
just a little
as
foam
far
bat?
as mail order type places like that I use that are online, my favorite distributor is Clay King. I hate to be one to
Endorse products,
endorse,
but-
yeah,
but
any
I also-
company,
yeah.
but Clay King has been really good. Well, we've got two of these, so that's the bigger one. There's a little smaller one there. A great big one if you want to make platters like this.
Oh, gotcha.
So.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Don.
All right, guys.